A revolution is a forcible overthrow of a government or social order in favor of a new system. Revolutions occur in most cultures at some point, whether it be for rising up against a rule that does not support equality, such as the French, or for rebelling against a rule that uses an unfair economic system, such as the English. In the case of the Turks, they revolted twice against the government in order for their voices to finally be heard. The Turks united as one and sacrificed their lives on two huge occasions, and eventually both revolts ended in success for the rebels. But what if this never happened? What if the Turks had silently followed the greatly biased rule? How would it affect today's economy, the lives of those stuck under the thumb of the corrupt government, and the welfare of the world as a whole? In 1453, the great city of Constantinople fell to the Ottomans after a hard-fought 8-week battle between the Ottomans and the Byzantine Empire. This event began the chain of events in which the Ottoman Empire rapidly gained power. Later, from 1520 to 1566, the Ottoman Empire reached its peak under Suleiman the Magnificent's rule, shown on this map as the dark yellow territories. He led his empire to conquer Serbia, most of Hungary, and Baghdad along with the rest of Iraq, thus gaining a huge source of natural resources and land. After all of these conquests, the Ottoman Empire suffered from losing many battles, such as their unsuccessful invasion in Vienna, which cost them a large amount of their land and power. The Ottoman Empire also suffered a large deal to the Russians in the late 1700s after they had taken over part of the land, aggravating them and consequently being pushed back due to lack of sufficient weapons and troops. Essentially, the empire was not doing too poorly, but the surrounding lands were performing much better. This led to the Ottoman Empire being known as the sick man of Europe. The empire faced its first revolution in 1908, which was organized by a group named the Young Turks, whose goal was to establish a constitutional government. Many believe that this act was the first major spark of nationalism within the Turks. By 1913, the demise of the empire was inevitable after losing most of their European territories during the First and Second Balkan Wars, shown on the map in brown. The Ottoman Empire's final hurrah was during World War I, when the empire sided with the Germans in hopes of regaining lost land with their newly befriended ally. Unfortunately for both the Ottomans and the Germans, they were destroyed in 1918, leaving the Ottoman Empire in its weakest state ever, the losses being shown on the map in peach. During this time, a young military officer named Mustafa Kemal Atatürk was watching the empire crumble at the hands of more powerful nations on the battlefield. One of Atatürk's most famous battles was when he almost single-handedly led his men to victory in the Greco-Turkish War against Greece. This battle took place in 1921 when Greek forces attacked Anatolia, thinking they would be able to demolish the weakened military of the Ottoman Empire. This was not the case, however, as Atatürk was able to defend the attack and even gain some land off of Greece's retreat. As a result of his success, the Ottoman government kept an eye on Atatürk and despised him for holding a place in the citizens' hearts that would be able to persuade them to do almost anything. By 1923, Atatürk had gained a huge group of followers and declared to win them their independence. At this point, the empire was divided into the Ottoman government along with wealthy aristocrats and Atatürk's beliefs supported by the nationalists, which were the rest of the citizens. This made Atatürk's declaration unanimous, and the final Ottoman Sultan fled from Istanbul. In July of 1923, Turkey officially gained its independence, and in October, Turkey was considered the Republic of Turkey, with Atatürk as the first president. Although this was the real path history took, the outcome of a world in which Turkey had not revolted against a government in 1908 would be interesting and could potentially change the empire for the better. If the Turkish Revolution and the Turkish War of Independence never happened, then the Ottoman Empire would still be ruling present-day Turkey. This would result in a negative outcome for the Ottoman Empire's citizens, but an interestingly positive outcome for the rest of the world, from the Ottoman Empire possibly never giving their people freedoms we have today in the US, to the empire initially deciding not to become a part of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. In this hypothetical world, the Young Turks Revolution of 1908 never happened, meaning that Atatürk was not an influential figure because Atatürk also played a key role in getting people to participate in that revolt. In other words, Turkey without Atatürk would have never stirred the people to revolt, causing the Ottoman Empire to maintain rulership. In this timeline, the Greco-Turkish War would be won by Greece, and they would have taken over Anatolia, which is considered basically as the part of Turkey in Asia, which is most of it. This would have left the Ottoman Empire with only a few cities, with Istanbul or Constantinople as its most valuable city. The Sultan of the empire at this time would be Sultan Mehmed V, who was one of the most open-minded sultans to reign. Under his rule, the empire would experience an era of rebirth, as Mehmed V would establish a peace treaty with Greece, allowing the Ottoman Empire to peacefully keep the reduced land it had. Sadly, Mehmed V would die on July 3, 1918, leaving the empire in a growing state at the hands of his brother, Mehmed VI. Before moving any further, it would make sense to deliberate that Greece would not capture almost all of the Ottoman Empire and leave only Istanbul and a few other cities for no reason. As mentioned previously, Mehmed V was an extremely tranquil ruler, and he had a way with negotiating. Mehmed V would have offered to pay a portion of taxes to Greece so that Greece would still make a profit off of the Ottoman Empire, and the Ottoman Empire would still exist. Another reason Greece would form an alliance with the Ottoman Empire is because the Greco-Turkish War already took many human lives, and more war would only slightly benefit Greece at the cost of thousands more human lives. Lastly, Greece, a Christian country, would force the Ottoman Empire, an Islamic country, to conform to Christianity. This would have to be done without any argument, or Greece would wipe the rest of the empire off of the globe. Sultan Mehmed VI was the last sultan in the Ottoman dynasty, ruling until the nationalists and Atatürk took over the government. In this timeline, however, the dynasty would not end with him, and he would rule until his death on May 16, 1926. Unlike his brother, Mehmed VI was not a very reasonable man. He did not believe in being opposed by his own people. He wasn't necessarily a tyrant, just an aggressive ruler who sought greatness for his empire. Mehmed VI also believed that he did not need the help of other countries because they would interfere the process of making the Ottoman Empire great. Due to these characteristics, he would do what he thinks is his very best to further improve the Ottoman Empire, through means such as decreasing laws against human labor, canceling trade deals with other countries, and ruling strictly. Although canceling trade deals would severely hurt the empire's economy, his strict ruling and fear-mongering would work well because the people did not have the willpower to revolt. Also, canceling trade deals with select countries would mean that the Ottoman Empire would never be a part of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, an organization founded after World War II to declare military alliances and other strong bonds between countries such as the United States, Spain, Italy, and France. Assuming that after Mehmed VI's reign, the empire continued to grow under the strict rule of other sultans, the ruler would likely work towards forming a military alliance with Greece and expanding territories in the south through military conquest by around the year 2030. Today, the military of Turkey contains about 35 million men fit for service, and by 2030 this number would be around 40 million. Keep in mind that the numbers from Turkey's military are being used as a combination of Anatolia, Greece, and the Ottoman Empire. The military of Syria, on the other hand, only contains 10 million men fit for service, and this number would only grow to about 11 million by 2030. This means that if the Ottoman Empire wanted to expand its borders and economy in its most efficient way possible, the empire and Greece would spend major funds on the military to invade Syria. The Ottoman Empire's human military forces would need to enter into the northern portion of Syria, while the tanks and other artillery would be posted on the border of Syria and Iraq to keep Iraq from aiding Syria in the war. Overwhelmed by the Ottoman Empire and Greece's manpower, coupled with being cut off from their most powerful ally, Syria would surrender. In the end, the Ottoman Empire and Greece would gain the majority of Syria and probably give the remaining territory to Iraq to keep them from becoming too hostile. By doing this, the Ottoman Empire would be taking over the land that is home to some of the best raw materials necessary for industry, such as oil and refined metals. The Ottoman Empire would provide for the Syrians and treat them as if they were all wealthy with the remaining money the empire still had. As a result, the Syrians would feel that life under the Ottoman Empire's rule was better than it was before. After a majority of the people felt content, including Iraq, the Ottoman Empire would enter the trade business, mainly because other countries needed the resources that Syria once provided them with. In conclusion, if the Young Turks never revolted against the Ottoman government, then the Ottoman Empire would effectively rule over present-day Western Turkey's land through fearmongering, and eventually partner with Greece to become two of the most valued trade countries. Because of their ideal geographical regions, the Ottoman Empire and Greece would build up to have the best industries in the entire world.